How's it going? Are you an engineer with no fashion sense that likes to golf occasionally like me? Just kidding, I don't really golf that well, or at all. Or are you a guy that has such big balls because of everything that you do that it hurts to be able to sit in your office job where you're just working away during the day and you need something with more gusseting in the crotch like the Lululemon ABCs, which stands for anti-ball crushing, or the Rhone equivalent to ABC pants? Well, in this video, we're going to go through some of the key differences that I found, just wearing the two pants for a sizable bit of portion in between. So some quick background about me. I'm currently a engineer. My undergraduate background was in mechanical engineering, where a lot of it was structural engineering as well as a little bit of manufacturing engineering. Now, I know what you're going to first question. How does that qualify me to talk about men's pants? Well, I am a man. I do wear pants. And if you look at a lot of the manufacturing aspects that you learn through engineering, a lot of it can be transferred into this pants, whether it's the quality materials they're using, how they set up some of their stitch work and other items, as well as what you might be able to expect from some of the pants as they wear. Other and additional background that you can't have is I am an ex-Lululemon employee. That's not really going to bias me because honestly I didn't really wear ABC pants too much when I worked there. I was more of a shorts guy and doing it to pay for stuff while I was in college. Also my coworkers there were great, so that really sweetened up the experience, but I really started using the ABC pants more since I started my full-time engineering job, where, I'm just in the office a lot. I'm moving around a decent bit because we are in a production environment. So, I was moving around, I was getting a little sweaty, but really it was just something more comfortable because I like having a little more flex in my fabrics. I also like my pants and stuff that I'm wearing for a longer time during the day to be a bit more breathable because I am someone that considers myself to be running hot. So my total time elapsed using ABC pants has been about 8 months, where I have one pair that has had an extensive bit of wear for the past few months. Then I have a new pair to compare it with current production runs that you would be able to purchase in-house, assuming you were buying new from Lululemon. Then I have a pair of Rhone pants that I just recently bought, actually, that are a few weeks into wear at this point. So it's enough for me to get an initial baseline, compare a lot of the design elements and some stuff that I like and don't like. But quick disclaimer, what this video won't be is, this video will not be fashion related. I think fashion is subjective somewhat to a standpoint. Also, as previously mentioned, I'm an engineer. I have no drip. I have pretty much no fashion sense. Not that it's not funny or anything, but you see what I'm wearing now, and I would not want to take fashion advice from me or how they look. So we're going to strictly cover some of the stuff that you might experience when, wearing and buying the two. Wow. So let's get it started out with the new pair of ABC pants. So these are the ABC Slims. They're we will get this stuff actually noted down just in case for when it comes into a comparison section. But these are 32 in length, and they are 32 in length. So that mixed with them being Slims, there's really a few key areas and key designs on here. So if we can look into the between the leg portion of what actually the ABC technology is, as you can see, there's somewhat of this gusset or a diamond-shaped, overlapping material that actually works to change where the pressure points are when you are going into motions, like you're going to be squatting down, you're going to be moving. It will apply the portion, or it should theoretically change the areas and the distributions of the force around the pants to where you're not experiencing those forces right along the seam that would be where your balls are, aka anti-ball crushing. If you really want to read into the scientific literature, not really scientific literature, but if you want to read into the story behind it, I'm sure Lululemon has some great explanations on their website. But this is a 5-pocket design, so pretty much it just aligns with like a regular jean and stuff like that one. That's not really going to change too much. Some of the highlights that I personally think the Lululemon has over the Rhone pair of pants is going to be the overall stitch quality. A lot of the stitches on the Lululemon are a lot closer in their spacing, and there's a lot more stitching just in general, as it is doubled up in some locations, which makes me think that overall longevity and durability, if it comes to just seam strength alone, is going to be stronger. Additionally, a very, very niche one here is going to be, I think the pockets in the Lululemon are better. Again, that is just my experience and that is just my opinion. I also think that potentially the fabric thickness of the ABCs is thicker on the ABCs and is going to be beneficial in the end. So, what are some of the negatives to the ABCs? Honestly, I don't know if there are too many negatives away from the price, where these are something stupid for how much they cost, like what, $112 to $128 if you're paying full price. Durability, though, when looking into the long term of the Lululemons, actually, where we've had some wear testing experience with this pair, where there's going to be some less than stellar results, but they're not necessarily critical failures. So we will get some of this up close and personal. So actually, let's drop that to there so we can get in closer here. So as we can see on some of the wear points, this is the back pocket here. There's actually already the wear through of that first layer of material on kind of that seam in that area. If we look down at the ABC gusset, actually, potentially this is just kind of a build issue with this pair of pants, but that first layer of fabric that's kind of covering the actual seaming in between the ABCs is starting to tear up quite a good bit, because it is a fairly thin material, as you can see, and as it's kind of doubled up on that edge or folded over, it's not necessarily hard for, if you're going in and out of cars and in and out of chairs and other stuff, to rub on that edge of the fabric and just kind of wear it down to a point where it is going to tear like that. But redeeming wise, you can see that that stitch under there is completely fine. So it is a good first layer of wear protection for when you are wearing this pants that might not be present necessarily on the Rhone. Another weird outlier here is actually this, where there was kind of like a split in the material right along where that seam was. I think that the seam strength is definitely there, as we talked about, but just through expansion and contraction and a lot of general movement, most of the pressure is put right before that seam, so it is gonna just pop that seam. But if we look at the other areas that are not strong wear areas, everything in the pant is looking great. Now let's keep in mind that this pant has been through several seasons of use and several portions of work, where I got them in the fall and they got quite a bit of work, as you can see even on like the tops of some of the belt loops and stuff like that. There is kind of some damage and wear coming in, which is disappointing from these pants, especially given how much you wear them, and the fact that I do believe Lululemon has stopped doing the quality promise guarantee with these, at least. Even looking at like some of the areas on this back seam where it's in between the two portions of pant, you can actually see somewhat where the stitch strength is doing good, but it's actually causing some damage to the material with how tightly spaced a lot of these seams are, and it might be creating issues along wear points where the seam itself is intact, but the material on either edge is starting to suffer, just given the number of holes that had to be created to do these seams. But one of the pros to these pants, even after the extensive amount of wear, is, as you can see, pockets where there are commonly stuff within the pocket, there is not necessarily marking or any issues that are popping up with it in time. Same goes with the rear pocket, where I'll put my wallet or my phone in the rear pockets. As you can see, there's no fabric discoloration. But we can go ahead and chuck those out of here. And then that actually allows us to switch to the newcomer, for me at least in the space, which is going to be the Rhone apparel short pants. These are also done in the slim cut. They're done in the 5 pocket to where they should be closer to the Lululemons, and they are in the same length of a 32 is what they should be ordered to be, and if there is a tag inside, then we can look to confirm it, just in case for fairness. Of course, it is not mentioned on this tag, but it should be. We will double check in an email. Some of the pros and cons with this model is, if you do think that the thickness of the Lululemons is going to be too thick for you or too warm for you, I have personally felt like the material of these are equally as thick as the Lululemons, maybe slightly thinner, just based on my finger calipers here and my overall sense of feel. But I have found it to be slightly thinner, or at least more breathable, despite the fabric thicknesses maybe being the same or this one being thinner. But we can also counter that or support that logic by looking into the pant, where even if you look at the pockets of the pants, they are done in more of a mesh and breathable material, which kind of supports the fact that they were going for something more breathable. Even if we look at like the front pockets, we have the regular material of the pant on one side, and then we have a more mesh one, which should give it somewhat more breathability. Granted, I don't know how much heat your gooch is producing to where this might be worthwhile, but that is something to consider if you are going to be using these for more frequent wear in warmer weather. If you're going out to golf or something else like this, that is one thing that it seems like Rhone heavily pushes, is the ability to do activities in these, and I think it's definitely applicable in this case. If we do look at overall just layout and design, again, it is a 5 pocket, so it's closer to a jean layout. Yeah, there's not really too much to write home about given these. I think Rhone's policy seems pretty good with return and how they handle it. I've seen mixed reviews online of how it is, but as for them as a whole, I don't necessarily think there's too many negatives away from one that I've noticed, or this might not be a negative for some people, is if you look at the overall quality of the waistband on the Rhones, it is a lot less material in this area. So overall flexibility in the waistband, if you're not wearing a belt or something else like that, this is a rather malleable material, and it is pretty thin and movable. But if we move that over to the Lululemons, it's going to be hard to like show on video, but there is a substantially bit more of material. And if you just look at like overall characteristics of it, it does like to spring back to its shape and hold that waistband. So flexibility may not be there as much in the Lululemon as it is in the Rhone. But overall negatives for the Rhone, I think that durability could be a question just based on the thickness of the material, some of the qualities that I see in the stitching, and the overall stitching layout. But we're going to cover that more when we go to more just camera-centric view, where it's really looking at the pants in depth versus doing this just top-level comparison of the pant and overall experience with it. Now we're going to go into a head-on-head portion. So first things first, actually, with this portion of the video for the head-on-head comparison is, we're going to fold these pants in a similar way, where both of them are going to have the waistbands overlapping each other, folded in the same way, and we're just going to expand them out the same way. Keep in mind, during the initial portion of the video, we called both of these as being 32s, so in length, so potentially it's just a construction difference of it. But if we look at this, starting points are pretty much the same here. Continues down, we have tension across the pants, then we're just going to drop it, where we still have the bottom in frame, hopefully, that shows that they are even. And if we look at the top, we can actually see that the Rhone pants are about half an inch to an inch longer, which is definitely interesting given that they should theoretically be the same length. It is not my favorite because of that, and I think that's something to consider when ordering the Rhone, if that's something that you want to do. that the length might be slightly off of what it should be, or the Lululemon shorter than what it should be. But I think it is, if you know your size in one, adjusting accordingly if you're going to cross shop the two. So now we're going to go through some of just a more POV view of the pants. So there's a lot more comparisons that can be done in between the two pants. So as you can see on the Lululemons, a lot of the stitching that they do like to push is this doubled up material where there's two lines of stitching and material that's covering a seam of the pants that's done underneath this layer of material, and it's done in a lot of places. If you look at the pockets only have a single line, but the entire outside of the pocket is that doubled up lining of material. As you can see, you have metal hardware on where some of the pockets and some of the wear points might be, or if you are putting stress on that pocket, taking stuff in and out, that you would have that potential pulling. But since you have the metal hardware there, it actually makes it somewhat of a durability feature. Even if you're looking at stuff like the waistband loops here, as you can see, they still did that doubled up stitching for durability. Same thing if you look going all the way down that back seam of the pants. It is that double seam for durability. Even if you're looking at the crotch gusset on these, there is that double seam that is hopefully aiding in the durability and longevity of these pants. But if we can actually take a second to look into the Rhone version of these pants, as you can see on like belt loops, they still did that double up. Along the pocket, you can see that double up, but you can see the much less, the less tight grouping of stitching throughout on the pants. But if you look at some of the wear points, like for example on this back seam of them, it is that doubled up seam where it is the doubled up stitching, and it's more shaped out and spread out. But if we look at some of where the crotch and some of the wear points expected would be, running down the legs of this, actually you only have that single line of stitching of material along here. As compared to the ABCs where you have that double line of material where it's two stitches, as well as that stitch underneath, which should be beneficial to the overall durability of the pants. Then if you look at stuff like on the Rhone, yet again, right on that pocket where that metal hardware is, there is that large double up stitch. However, there's no necessarily metal hardware. So you're looking at all of your mechanical durability and wear elements is going to come from that layer of fabric that could rip through. Which, you know, you could say the same for the ABC pants where the metal hardware could cause an issue. But if you just look at like the overall seaming quality on the Rhone pants, it's kind of one of the things that I don't like as much. Where as you can see here, there's just kind of like that seam fraying. If you look along this like waistband here, as you can see near some of the belt loops, the material like fit and finish itself just isn't as good of quality as you would expect. And I've seen a lot better quality control standards and seam standards on some of the ABC pants, but it doesn't necessarily cause concern for me regarding some of the durability and features of the Rhone pants, even though these are relatively expensive pants. So it kind of does create an unfortunate sign to see some of these lack of durability elements in between the two. But if we look at some of the seam work on the ABC pants, as you can see, somewhat better just overall stitch quality here, even when it comes to like right where that button's going through. There's a lot less seam issues and seam work. The overall quality control between the two pairs of pants does seem to be a lot better on the Lululemon than it does on the Rhone, but there you have been and there you long to go. This text isn't even straight. So it's just a lot of interesting stuff, but it kind of ends this section of the video. So when it comes up to overall thoughts to end out the video on, I know that it seems like I kind of really ragged on the Rhone pants for being like, you know, inferior or not as good as the Lululemon. But I think there's some takeaways too when it comes to looking at the background of the overall manufacturers as well as what's possible. So Lululemon has been around a lot longer, I believe, than Rhone. And if you look at their overall market cap, market share, and terms of revenue and stuff like that, Lululemon is producing a lot more product, which is going to enable them, one, to probably order material in larger amounts of bulk, to where they can have there's a lot more margins built into the product itself if they're getting the material for cheaper. Despite these pants selling for relatively the same price, probably the factory is a lot cheaper for Lululemon than it is for Rhone. Their overall cost of manufacturing is going to be cheaper for Lululemon, just based off of the overall volume of work that they're pushing through that factory and that they're looking to produce. Which, when you look at the Rhone, I think that explains a lot of where they're currently at. They might be similar to where Lululemon was quite a few years ago, where if you're looking at the massive production that they're doing for Rhone, they don't necessarily have the scale of production that they're doing. So their overall production rate is more expensive. Their material costs are theoretically more expensive, and going through supply chains for them is just going to be a less efficient process than Lululemon's currently at. So despite them being around the same price point as the Lululemons, if you're looking at all the stuff that's affecting the margin on the pants, it's probably going to be more expensive for them to produce, for the cost of goods being higher, but necessarily material choice and material quality not being there, just because they're trying to find a lot of compromises when they're going through this product and hoping that the product is good enough to achieve a large enough volume of production for them to later offset these costs and to continue to innovate and create a higher quality product to be on scale with the Lululemons, which might mean changes in stitch placement later on down the line, as it's something that's more worthwhile for them to do, would be my theory in this point. As well as that scale of production is increased, you might see overall better quality standards be achieved, just because working for someone in an engineering background and an engineering discipline, I'm sure you guys have seen it in the news recently, but even large corporations, it's easy for them to cut the quality portion of it. Not that this is a dig of Boeing, but it's easy for them to try and ignore quality as something to boost product or boost margin. I think if Rhone were to step up their quality control, then that would greatly, hopefully, increase the quality of the pants, and that might achieve them in selling more. I really want to like the Rhone pants, and they've been getting a lot of wear recently, just because I have not, even taken off the tags off of my new pair of ABC pants, because I already had several months of wear with my old pair as shown in the video, and I just kind of wanted to see the differences between the two. So in the sake of expediting a reviewing process, it was put a lot of wear into the Rhone, step back from the ABCs just so we could achieve that volume of testing that would be required to kind of make a video of this one where I can extrapolate a lot of what I saw through the first few weeks and apply it to what we expect the lifespan of the pants to be. But with that being said, I don't think you can go wrong with either ones. I've tried pants like this from Cuts Clothing, and I've gone through quite a few of those. They were pretty good. I don't think they compare to these, and maybe I will have to do a follow-up video comparing all three of these in a better format, as this is a video format that I'm not necessarily familiar with. But if I were to have to buy only one of the two at this point, I would probably have to buy the Lululemon ABCs. However, I think there's a place for both of these within my closet and my usage, and I think the Rhone are going to get a lot of wear just as I kind of assess this one out. Because I think there's stuff that you can do with Rhone to get the price per pant a lot lower, or to be more in line with the ABCs, and I'm definitely not disappointed with my purchase of Rhone. But I think there's just a few things that need to be improved or changed out as the times come to make them more comparable or like products. But with that being said, I hope you guys appreciated the video. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have, drop them down below and I will do my best to answer them. This is not a paid affiliation with either company. I do know that I said I was a ex-Lululemon employee. All of these pants were paid for at full price. I don't really have any affiliation with the company anymore, away from still knowing some people that worked there from my time. But this is not paid for anyone. This is not representative of anything for either brand. But hope you guys had a great day. I think both pants are great, honestly. But adios.